भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की श्रीपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की आनंद कोटि वैष्णव की समवेत भक्ति की all glory to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glory to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glory to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga all glory to Srila Prabhupada Namaste Krishna 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 Bhakti Vikas. Somebody can pull up 713. 713. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna. So, all right. So today we're going to continue discussing the Bhagavad Gita from chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 13. So here we're starting to dive into the modes of material nature which Krishna discusses throughout the Bhagavad Gita in different places. So what we'll do here is, this is your first time here? How did you find out about the place? Oh, you live right down the street. Oh, awesome. Okay. Welcome. It's nice to have you guys here. Thank you. So we're going to discuss this verse right here. This right here is Sanskrit that we will be reciting. So traditionally it's recited. So I'll recite it and everybody will recite it back. First we'll go word to word and then we'll do like in a meter, in some sort of melody. And then I'll kind of read through the explanations and then give a little class. Okay? So, okay. Tribhir. Sorry, before I begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tribhir Guna Mayir Bhave Ebihi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mam Ebhyah Param Avyayam Tribhir Gunamay Bhave Ebihi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitang Nabhijanati Mamevyah Param Avyayam Tribhir Gunamay Bhave Ebahi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mamevyah Param Avyayam Tribhir Gunamay Bhave Ebahi Sarvamidam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Ebahi Param Mamevyah Paramavyayam Tribhir Gunamay Bhave Ebahi Sarvamidam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mamevyah Paramavyayam Tribhir Gunamay Bhave
Evi sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabhijanati mamebhyah paramavyayam
Tribir gunamayir bhave Ebhi sarvamidam jagat Mohitam nabhijanati Mamebhyah paramavyayam
Okay, Matajis.
Tribir gunamayir bhave
Ebhi sarvamidam jagat
mohitam nabhijanati mamebhyah paramavyayam
Tribir gunamayir bhave
Evi sarvamidam jagat
Mohitam nabhijanati
Anyone else? Anyone else want to try? Okay. Tribhihi. Three. Gunamayihi. Consisting of the gunas. Bhavaihi. By the states of being. Ibihi. Abihi. All these. Sarvam. Whole. Idam. This. Jagat. Universe. Mohitam. Deluded. Nabhijanati. Does not know. Mam. Me. Ebhyaha. Above these. Param. Supreme. Avyayam. Inexhaustible. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Purport. The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three modes of material nature. They are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanas. Those who are in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the mode of passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Shudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these destinations are not permanent. I may either be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporary. But although life is temporary and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in the terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by the three modes, So Lord Krishna says that the living entities deluded by these three modes of material nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. And all of them have forgotten the transcendental personality of Godhead. Those who are in the mode of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the mode of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in His personal feature, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation. When even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in the passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendent through all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. Om Jnana Tivrandasya Gyanam Janashalakaya Chakshuranitamena Tasmai Shri Guru Namah Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatakalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Savajadam Sagan Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadatam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahana Lalita Shri Jakan Vitam Chahi Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavanda Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Sari Pushavahani Sute Devi Pranamami Hripiya Panchakalpadurvesha Kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani. Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitaya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan, Tinarasmara, Hare Vigna Vinajam, Nayasha Hai Nija Panchita Punam. Jnanananda Mayam Deva Miramashpati Kakridin, Adharam Sarva Vidyanam, Hai Grimam Pasmai. So, Maharaj had left a garland for the speaker. Do you know where that went?
Oh.
Yes.
There's one there as well.
So that's for Maharaj though, right?
No, the one that's not Prabhupada's went downstairs in the basement.
Yeah, that one.
That one was for Prabhupada.
Oh, that one is from the Brigapati Prabhu? Yes, of course. Oh, yeah, please give it to Brigapati Prabhu. Huh? You can wear it, Prabhu, and then we can give it to the guest. Yeah. So here we're beginning to discuss the three modes of material nature. I mean, Krishna discusses this in many places. Now, the three modes of material nature are what the whole world runs under: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Specifically, modern civilization runs under the passion and ignorance. As Prabhupada summarizes basically what he's going to say for the rest of it. Rest of the purport here in this first little paragraph: the whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand that transcendent to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Krishna explains this in different places, specifically in which chapter? 14th chapter. And he says that this knowledge, he makes a very important point actually when he begins this chapter. He makes the point that this knowledge should be carefully understood, because by understanding this knowledge one can get liberation. He begins that with the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained perfection." So here Prabhupada comments, from the 7th chapter till the end of the 12th chapter, Shri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. In the 13th chapter, it was clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has been explained that it is due to association with the modes of material nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and how they give liberation. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attain perfection and transfer to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained. And knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this 14th chapter will attain perfection. So it's not that, often we'll hear actually the main chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is the 9th chapter. This is the secret of all secrets, the king of all knowledge. But Prabhupada says here that this is the most important. It's interesting how Prabhupada says that. This specific chapter is above all. He says above all means here is superior, far superior to all other processes of knowledge thus far explained. Because Krishna even explains in the 12th chapter, we'll see Krishna start to explain devotional service. So how do we understand this? That the modes of material nature, which is explaining what? Passion, ignorance, goodness, which are under the modes of material nature, how are they superior to the explanation of the 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge, and 14th chapter where we're just discussing material nature and how it functions and how people are under these. How is this so? How can Prabhupada say like that? When it's clear that some of the most important instructions in the 9th chapter are, it's like the center of Bhagavad Gita. So many of our acharyas say like that. This Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyachi mam namaskuru. This is like, this is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So how do we understand this?
You got a rhetorical question? You actually
I'm actually answering, yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
I mean, it's important. The Bhagavad Gita is spoken for the benefit of Arjuna and conditioned souls.
Mhm.
So just like if you're somebody, a criminal in a prison, it's important for you to hear, be reminded what life is out in the free world there.
Mhm.
But the first things first, you got to deal with how do I get out of the prison?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you got to understand what is a mode of material nature, what it actually is, and how to become free of it.
Exactly. So Krishna started to describe the science of modes of material nature because the highway is important, as recently we're hearing, I think you asked this question to Mukundadatta Prabhu, and he was giving the point that if you want to go to Florida, the highway is very important, that's the main thing, but if there is no on-ramp, there's no use of the highway. You can't get on the highway, what's the point? So they're both important, but it's important first to get on the highway. So these modes of material nature, you will see, when we analyze the society and we see these symptoms of modes of material nature, we'll see that most people are deluded, they're controlled. Everybody in this world, more or less, is controlled.
Just for the benefit of two new guests,
Yeah.
could you break it down? What exactly is a mode?
Yeah, I'm gonna start to go through all of that. So I'm giving a little overview and then I'll start to describe these modes that we're speaking about. So these modes of material nature, they are generally, you'll see everybody moving in a different way. Seemingly different, but it's all the same. Everybody's ultimately in this world running after sex. Sex, money, cars, name, fame, adoration. That's the essence of modern civilization. People want some sort of fame, some sort of knowledge, some sort of pleasure. So these are all done under the modes. Often we say modes, the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. It's like, you could say, it's like a lens that one works through. So Krishna gives very clear definitions of those modes. So the mode of goodness is illuminated by knowledge. One is in knowledge, one knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. In the mode of passion, one is controlled by his desire. He is after fruitive, he's really running after the next thing. He's running after that CEO position, he's running after the money, running after the woman, running after the fancy cars. He wants to go and get it in life. And mode of ignorance, generally conditioned by sleep, laziness, inertia, uncleanliness, and darkness. So we'll see that in generally those who are in the mode of darkness, they're generally depressed, generally cannot function very well, because they're conditioned by that mode, they're controlled by that mode, they're completely taken over by that mode. Just like you'll see someone who earns a lot of wealth, prominently in passion and ignorance, of course, always. They're always mixed, they're not all, it's not purely one. But one is dragged by it, just like someone who is controlled by the mode of passion. No matter how much money he gets, he has to get more, just a little bit more. When is it enough? Mahoja Prabhu was quoting someone, he said, when is it enough? Just when you get just a little bit more. So one is pulled by the mode of passion, one is pulled by desire. And ignorance, one is just stuck at that point, lazy, and this is on that level of ignorance, he cannot understand what is to be done, what is not to be done. He has no knowledge. So most people in this world are enchanted by the three modes of material nature. So they cannot understand anything beyond material nature. We're completely under it. We have no choice. Just like when one is in a jail, he doesn't really know what's going on in the world so much. It's like people spend 20, 30 years in jail, come out, and you've got iPhones and ChatGPT and all of these things. It's like, oh my God, it's like a whole future. You have no idea what's going on. So similarly, one who is conditioned in the material world, this is considered like the jail. He does not know of the higher nature of life. So he functions under those modes of material nature, mainly passion and ignorance, trying to enjoy in this world. Trying to enjoy under these modes of material nature. As we have Sadasad Yon Janmasu. How does this verse start? Prakriti Kriyamanani Guna Karmani. Oh, sorry. Prakriti Purusha Prakritastohi Bhumte. No, that's not it. Jan Gunan Sangasya. What is it? Sangasya? Anyways, by association of the modes of material nature, one experiences forgetting. Karanam Gurna Sangasya Sadasad Yoni Janmasu. That he attains a particular type of when he's born, he meets good with evil. When he associates closely with this material nature, he meets with good and evil. So under the influence of the modes of material nature, we perform certain activities. And those activities, in turn, as we're hearing from Mukunda Datta Prabhu, they promote more activities. Karma, one type of karma, pushes forward another type of karma. So we end up in a cycle. So these modes of material nature are very strong, as Krishna explains in the next verse, that is Daiviyesha Gunamahi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamivaya Prapadanti Maya Metam Tarantite. So everyone is under the modes of material nature and they're very difficult to overcome. And most people cannot even understand it. People have some sense, just like, if those who go to the universities, they can understand that I have to be in some level of, they have passion in their body, that they have to work hard, they have to get up early in the morning, study, go to class. If they know they can't glide into the mode of ignorance, they know that. They know they can't be lazy, they know they can't just sit and not do anything. So they have some sense of it, but they're controlled by it. Even that passion eventually dips into ignorance, because they do not have superior knowledge. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna starts to define to us and give us a clear understanding of the modes of material nature, by which, when you have a clear understanding, you can actually start to overcome them. So, just like if you are climbing a mountain and you don't have a map, and you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to end up lost. You may be very enthusiastic to do it, you may have a lot of passion in your body, or you may be lazy, you may just not even climb it at all. But if one is given a map, if one is given knowledge, if one has a guide, then he has no problems. He knows exactly what to do. He's in complete knowledge. He knows which path to take. He's not in darkness. So similarly, this Bhagavad Gita, in the 14th chapter, Krishna is starting to give us that knowledge by which we can start to understand the modes of material nature, how they are functioning, what particular modes we're influenced by, and how to get out of them. That we see our certain natures, as Mukunda Datta Prabhu was talking about. In our life, we have this swabhava. We are born with a particular type of nature. We're born with a particular type of nature. You'll see in our life, sometimes, most of life, we just won't be able to change certain things. It's just the nature of it. Sometimes we're really clumsy in our life. This is how we've been. We just lose stuff. I used to lose everything that I had. I used to lose like a water bottle every week. My parents would be fried out. You forget to do things all the time. Controlled by passion and ignorance. We're born with a particular type of faith. You'll see some people are naturally inclined towards certain types of faiths, as Krishna discusses in the 17th chapter. So we are born into a particular type of nature, and that nature, more or less, throughout our life controls us. And although in this human form of life we do have independence, that independence is greatly covered by being under the influence of material nature. Often we're pulled to do things even when we don't want to. This is a question that Arjuna asks in the Bhagavad Gita. Why is it that some people, although they know they shouldn't do something, they are pulled to do it? It's almost like forced. You're forced by your senses, by your mind. You don't want to do it. You know it's bad. You know it's bad. You have no intention to go and do something that's hurtful to yourself or to others. But you're forced to do it. Just like, best example is those who smoke cigarettes. It's a fact. It's on the label of lung cancer. It's disgusting to look at. You know it. You see it every day. Those who smoke, chain smokers, they see it on the packets every day. They see it on the news every day. They hear about it. They know how much problems it causes. They know how others, their family members may not like it. And they don't want to do it either. It's not that, heroin addicts and all of these people want to be that. They want to get out of it. Those people who you go to these, what are these circles called? Alcohol Anonymous. They don't want to drink anymore. They don't want to be in that state. But they're pulled. What are they pulled by? Ignorance, passion, mostly ignorance. And they can't do anything about it. I think the Alcohol Anonymous's rates is like 80% relapse. It's terrible. It's terrible. 80% relapse. Why? Because they have no knowledge. Because what are they associated with? The modes of material nature directly, which they're particularly influenced by passion and ignorance. They have no knowledge on how to overcome that. Why? Because Krishna says it's very tough. One cannot overcome passion and ignorance. One cannot. It's practically impossible. Why? Because one is constantly bombarded by them. You walk out of here, you walk down the street, immediately you should buy this drink. It will make you happy. Go buy Coca-Cola. That's the big thing in Atlanta. Coca-Cola, they have, what's their slogan? The joy, huh? Enjoy, enjoy. This nice big red letters, enjoy. But actually that Coca-Cola doesn't particularly give enjoyment. The idea of enjoyment is given. Happy, everybody's happy, and the guy's got 5 Coca-Colas around him, and he's hugging someone. It's the idea of enjoyment, but actually when you go and drink that, it's not that you feel like that guy who's on the billboard. You walk down the street, you walk down the other street, then you've got a naked woman there. You should enjoy sex life. Everywhere you can get pornography in 2 seconds on this thing. You go on these things now, TikTok, and I tell people on the street, Tic-Tac, is that what it is? TikTok, every 12-year-old who goes on there is bombarded with all of these sexual content. They aim that towards them. You go to school, you're constantly told you have to become successful, you have to work hard, you have to go into the system and work a job and be this. You go into the music industry, you have to be, in Atlanta, every black brother is a rapper. Every brother is a rapper, singer, writer, although they can't sing or write, can't read and wants to be a writer. How? So the modes of material nature are very strong that they convince us things that we cannot even do. They pull us, even though we it's practically impossible for us to perform certain tasks. It's like for someone who's, my height, I'm like 5'10". Impossible for me to play basketball, but somebody can convince me that I can be the best basketball player in the world. They can invoke that passion and that desire. How did I come? By association. So the association that we're under, we have actually acquired, as we were quoting this verse, we've acquired this nature due to bad association. Bad association with the lower modes of material nature. So similarly, Krishna makes the point throughout the Bhagavad Gita that by that same by association again, we can come out of these. So it is very difficult to overcome. It's impossible. It's impossible. So everybody's born with these janma karma chame. No, sorry, that's the wrong verse. That one is born into this world. Chaturvarne maya shrishtam guna karma vivagashaha. Tasya kartam apimam vidya. What is it? Vidya kartam avyayam. So one is born with particular type of nature, karma, guna, and under the particular mode. We can see that in civilization. We can see certain races are born under certain modes. You can see it's not racist or it's just generalizing. You can see certain races are more in ignorance, some are more in passion, and some are more in goodness. It's a fact. Some like to enjoy in really disgusting ways. Like some civilization like to eat dogs and cats and whatever, insects and all of these things. And some civilizations don't eat animals, they eat vegetation food, more in the mode of goodness. And some in the middle. So everybody's influenced, and as Srila Prabhupada says here, they're categorized into 4 and lower. So Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This often referred to as the caste system is of course degraded because they've taken it to be a birthright more than a quality, which Krishna makes the point that it's out of one's quality, not out of one's birth. But generally, if you're born in a as we've discussed, with that association, you acquire that quality. If you're born in a Brahmana family, more than likely you'll have that Brahmanical nature. Brahmana means one who's very intelligent, one who's very studious, one who's very simple, one who's very austere. These are the modes of goodness. So the Brahmanas, they're naturally in the mode of goodness. The Kshatriyas, they're in the mode of passion. Why? Because they have that fruit of nature. They need to go out and get things. They're administrators. And the Vaishyas, they fall into both. They're passion and ignorance. That they also need to, they're merchants. So, and then the Shudras, they just work. They don't have the ability to study. And then lower than that, those are animals who are not even up to the human form of life. They just live like animals. They don't have any sort of sense of what is right, what is wrong. So these destinations that we acquire according to the modes of mature nature that we've associated with. And Krishna says in the 2nd chapter that one is forced. If I can pull that up. Does anybody? Okay, let's see here.
Which chapter?
So in the 2nd chapter, Krishna says one is forced by the mature modes of nature to act.
3:5?
Is it 3:5? Maybe it is 3:5. That one is forced by the modes of mature nature to act. One main point about that is that once one comes under the modes of mature nature, then he's forced. But before that, he has a choice. The living entity always has a choice. Let me see, 3:5. Yeah, exactly. Nahi kaschit shanam api jat tishtati akarmakrit karyate hi avasya karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of mature nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So we've been speaking about that even so everybody's influenced by these modes of passion and ignorance, and that modes of passion and ignorance forces to act in this world helplessly. So we spoke about how people who are addicted to certain substances, they're forced to act. Similarly, people who are not addicted to such substances, even in a higher modes of nature or higher statuses of life, are still forced to act, just not as grossly maybe. So here, Krishna makes this point that one is helplessly forced to act, acts helplessly. Everyone is forced to act helplessly. But Prabhupada makes this point that before one is actually, before he acquires that particular mode, he has the choice, because he is actually given that out of desire. When we desire a particular type of thing, we start to become controlled by it. So, let me see if I can bring this up here. Cultivate the mode of goodness. Let me see. So, okay. So, 2.9.2. Sorry, should have had it open here. Okay, there's different forms of living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord according to the modes of nature the living being desires to enjoy. The external material energy is represented by the 3 modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the modes of material nature, there is a chance of independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. So we get to choose. How's that choice made? Mostly by association. Our desires Sanjat sanjayate kamaha. Our desires develop according to the association you have. So, according to that choice that you make, you become conditioned by a particular mode of nature, and then you're helpless to act. Once you start acting in that, once you become conditioned by that mode, once you choose to act in that way, then you're forced. But before that, you have a choice, whether you want to act or not. The living entity is independent in that way. We have that ability to choose whether we want to go and associate with a bunch of thieves or we want to go and associate with a bunch of saints. We have that choice. So the living entity has that choice to be able to come up. So this association is the main way of whether one actually becomes conditioned by these modes or goes beyond these modes. So Prabhupada makes the point here that, but although life is temporary, we do not know what we are going to be in the next life by the spell of this illusory energy. We consider ourselves in the terms of body conception life. Thus we think we are American, Indian, Russian, Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of material nature do not understand that behind the material ground is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we become conditioned by these modes, we become bewildered by them, just like one who becomes bewildered by drugs. He no longer can get himself back situated properly in his life of maintaining what's called a normal life of working and earning money and having a decent family. One cannot even have that. Similarly, when one is just influenced by the modes of material nature and forgets the goal of life, then he cannot understand what his spiritual life is. He can't even begin to perceive what is spiritual life. He can't even begin to perceive that we are beyond this material body. Cannot begin to perceive that actually this body is just, it's this dead matter. This flesh, blood, and stool. Actually taking care for this body is of no use. It should be maintained, but to decorate it very nicely and to take care of it and give so much importance to it, to which your whole life starts to center around looking very good. As I think last time I gave class talking about how generally when you're younger, I don't know if people do it when they're older too, because I don't have experience, but generally you buy new clothes and you wear them to see if they look good on you. And you wear it with different combinations and permutations to see which one fits best and how you can look good outside. There's so much time just wasted in that. So much time in just picking, what should I eat today? That's like a whole thing. People just, what should I eat today? What should I eat tomorrow? So much time spent in that. So much time spent in acquiring a nice car. So much time spent in acquiring a nice home. Just to work some more, just to maintain that home. People know it's a scam. You go to work to maintain your house. You maintain your house to go to work. But we're forced to act. What can we do? Well, Krishna consciousness starts to give us the solution by which we can come out of these modes of material nature, by which we can start to cultivate the mode of goodness in which we do not become impelled by passion to act like the way that the materialists do. Materialists are forced to act. How else are you going to maintain your life? You have to look good. You have to look good. You have to have a nice car. Otherwise, everyone's going to look down on you. Everyone's going to look at you as like, anyways, he's poor, doesn't have much, can't come out much, can't spend much. Who wants to hang out with someone who can't spend much? So you have to. Can't cultivate simplicity. Can't cultivate austerity. Practically impossible. But Krishna consciousness gives us knowledge and the ability, allows us to see, gives us knowledge, and gives us the ability to do it. Actually, who is telling us? I forgot who was telling us this. He said, Guru Maharaj was telling us this. Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was telling us that that this Alcohol Anonymous approached Srila Prabhupada, and they asked him, what is your percentage of relapse in your movement? Because at that time, a lot of devotees were heavily into different drugs and, whatever, weed and getting high, and that was like the thing in the 70s. So Prabhupada says maybe 1 from every 10,000. That's, I don't know, percentage-wise, that's like 0.01%.
It's a 1/100th of a percent.
1/100th of a percent, 0.001%. So that was the status of the Krishna consciousness movement. Those who came in would give up their bad habits the next day, chant 16 rounds, stop illicit sex, stop intoxication, stop meat eating, stop gambling. That's it, no more relapse, that's it. How is that possible? How is that possible? Those who go to these classes, spend hours in these classes, they have a whole institution for Alcohol Anonymous, and so many other addictions, and so many other problems. That you just walk in through the door into the Krishna consciousness movement, and next day it's all gone. It's all gone. No more desire to enjoy that. How is that possible? How is that possible? Yeah, Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharsidena Rasovartam Rasopasya Param Dishta Nivartate. One gets a higher taste. And what is that higher taste? That higher taste is Krishna. Krishna, that is Krishna. One is no longer, although conditioned still, he has come up. Prabhupada says here that even those in the mode of goodness, they cannot even understand the absolute truth. But it requires the mode of goodness as a platform to approach the absolute truth. It requires for us, it's not an absolute requirement, bhakti is above all. But one has to cultivate that. Because why? Because in the mode of goodness, one has knowledge. One can start to see the process of devotional service. As we spoke about, Shastra Janya and Swabhava, that your own nature, if you depend on your own nature, like you could say, like I'm from a Hindu background. My parents were, whatever, worship of different demigods and all of this. Krishna. You grow up knowing Krishna and knowing knowing the movement and all that. But that's Swabhavaja. That's acquired by nature. But if one completely just depends on that, one cannot go very far. He starts to run on fumes, as Mukundatta Prabhu was saying. So one has to take Shastra Janya, one has to take help from Krishna. One has to take help from the knowledge that is given in this Bhagavad Gita. One has to acquire these qualities of simplicity. And how does one acquire it? Simply by performing devotional service. Simply by performing devotional service. One acquires all of these great qualities of simplicity, merciness. So this mode of goodness is naturally cultivated when one takes to devotional service, because one immediately cuts off that which pulls him into the material pool. He cuts it off. And he gets a higher taste. He doesn't have to go back. Doesn't have to go back. So the mode of goodness allows us to come to a platform of stability. Otherwise, coming from growing up in the West, it's like practically we're completely conditioned by passion and ignorance at every step. Every other moment we're completely bewildered. But when we don't make our swabhava, our nature that we've acquired in this life, the most important, but we make the most important thing in our life, Shastra, that which is being given by Krishna, then we start to go beyond even mode of goodness. We start to come to the level of mode of transcendental goodness, in which we start to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we start to see God, and actually start to now have ruchi, have taste, have real loving feeling towards Krishna. But it requires us to come to the platform of even just goodness first, and then go beyond. So that is primarily done by association. That is primarily done by the association of devotees. Those who have overcome it. If you're drowning in the ocean, another drowning man cannot help you. They cannot help you. You need someone on a boat to come and save you. And that is the spiritual master. The spiritual master, who is above the three modes of material nature, comes and he saves the disciple from this intense ocean of material nature, which the three modes of material nature are constantly fighting. Passion, goodness, constantly pulling one. Passion, goodness, ignorance. All of these things are constantly pulling us. But when one is situated on the transcendental boat of devotional service, then no more. Then what does he become? He becomes completely stable. He becomes beyond the modes of material nature. He starts to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it is not possible unless one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. It is not possible. We have this for Pantashtakoti Shatavatsara Sampragamya Vayuratapi Manasu Munipanga So api asti yat prapadi avisinna tatve govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. That even the great yogis, the great meditators who have meditated for thousands of years, who are in the mode of goodness, they cannot even approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They cannot even conceive of His lotus feet, the light that is emanating from His lotus feet. But the devotees of the Lord, they're very close. Although it is Atyanta Durlava Karibari Dan, is Atyanta Durlava Prem Karibari Dan, Shikaya Sharanagati Bhakatira Pran. That this devotional service, this love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very, very far. It's very far. It's really hard to get. But by the process that has been taught to us by our spiritual master, it is very easy to attain. So one has to take shelter of that person who is Krishna conscious. Because Krishna consciousness is transcendent to all these three modes of nature. And those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. So when one takes shelter of Shastra, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, the saintly person, the spiritual master, and that knowledge which is above the three modes, like the Bhagavad Gita, then one starts to come to the platform of pure knowledge, complete knowledge. Then no more anxiety, no more hankering. He's completely situated on a platform which is bliss. Krishna consciousness is a dance at every step. Every word is a song, and every step is a dance. So that is the platform of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because one is no longer conditioned by modes of material nature. Otherwise, we're constantly pulled. When we wonder, okay, I've taken shelter of a spiritual master, I study Bhagavad Gita, take prasadam, associate with devotees, I live in the temple, then why is there still struggle? Because there is a tendency to not do those things to complete full extent. That requires this sharanagati, as Vishnu Chitta Prabhu is explaining. That requires sharanagati, dhainya, atma nivedana, goptitva varana, avasha rakibe Krishna, vishwasha palana. Requires these 6 things of surrender. One requires humility. It requires understanding that we're completely protected by the Lord. We're completely dependent on the Lord. It requires us to reject those things which are unfavorable, accept those things which are favorable. So in order to overcome these modes of material nature, we have to take association from great Vaishnavas. We have to take association from those who are above these modes of material nature. That is our only hope. Otherwise, there's no hope for us. It's just like when we came into the Krishna consciousness movement, there's no possibility for us to let go of illicit sex, intoxication. There's no hope of it. It's completely forget it. You're joking. But when we heard those words from the sadhus, when we heard those transcendental words from these devotees who are realized, immediately something struck. If anybody on the street told me that no sex, no meat eating, no gambling, none of these things for the rest of your life, like this guy's joking. It's not possible. But when we hear it from those who are realized, those who are bona fide, then it cuts through the modes of material nature, and it hits us directly on the platform of the soul. The soul responds. The soul that is there, it responds. It understands. Oh, this is what I've been looking for. Under these modes of material nature, all those seemingly trying to enjoy, we are suffering. So much enjoyment we are thinking we're getting, but actually this is just suffering in this world. So under the modes of material nature, we undergo these different bodies that Prabhupada is talking about, being American, Indian, Russian, Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim. These are all material designations of the body. You're a man today, nowadays you can become a woman tomorrow, but generally in your next life you can become a woman, or a man in your next life, or an animal, or you may become a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. But these are all temporary designations. Our real designations is that we are the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is our true nature. And when we are able to exhibit that true nature to our full extent, then there's no more struggle in devotional service. When we're still influenced by this kartahamiti manyate, that I am the doer, I am the controller, then we are suffering even within devotional service, because we're still taking shelter of the modes of mature nature. We're not taking shelter of Shastra Janya, we're not taking shelter of the knowledge that is being given. But we become purified. As we have become purified, it's clear in our lives that we have become purified. Otherwise, how is it that we're dancing without having to drink? How is it possible? You go to the club, who will dance without drinking? No alcohol today, everybody come to the club. Nobody will go. Over the Memorial Day weekend, no alcohol over the Memorial Day weekend. What is Memorial Day weekend for them then? It's not a celebration anymore. Must be alcohol, must be intoxication in order to enjoy. Otherwise, it's not possible for us to do this if we do not have that purification. So when we come to the platform of goodness, when we start to hear, when we start to acquire knowledge, we can see what is right, what is wrong. Then we start to become purified. That is one of the symptoms of mode of goodness, is it purifies us. So we should endeavor to be in this mode of goodness. We should endeavor to become stable. And just by performing Krishna consciousness, by chanting Hare Krishna with a lot of attention, by performing devotional service with a lot of attention, we naturally come up. Naturally come up. We see that when we're attentive in our spiritual life, the mode of goodness is naturally acquired. When we're inattentive in our spiritual life, immediately we stoop to ignorance and passion. So we have to constantly remind ourselves to come up, to come to this platform of goodness, and then not forget that we have to go beyond that, of course. But we should cultivate that in devotional service. Not goodness in material life, but goodness in devotional service, because it is very helpful. Krishna says that it leads to liberation. That cultivating this mode of goodness, it leads to liberation. So these are some of the things that is being discussed here. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Any questions? Bring it back to the room.
Some people may argue that because this process is like transcendental spiritual, one should immediately be able to come to a spiritual platform. Like why should one have to climb to the mode of goodness? Why can't from the passionate ignorance they just become like immediately transcendental?
Yeah. You don't, no faith. As Mukundadatta Prabhu was discussing that. By mode of goodness, we develop stronger faith. We don't have faith. That is Shraddhavan Janahe Bhakti Adhikar. But that faith is given by experience in devotional service. But if it is tainted by material desire, then that's devotional service. In the third canto, Kapila Dev describes this devotional service in the three modes of material nature. Devotional service in the mode of ignorance, devotional service in the mode of passion. One is just fruitive in the mode of passion, and in ignorance, is ignorant of the devotees of the Lord. He doesn't give them significance, he's just the deity only, neophyte. So why don't we just go straight from passion to transcendental goodness? We can, and definitely that's not, as Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Pratitya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. If one can do that, and Prabhupada says, why one lifetime, one moment? In Melbourne, he said that. Why one moment one can go back to Godhead? But we don't have, it's clear, we can see in our lives that generally we are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. So then we have to approach it as Krishna is giving. Krishna understands these things, that okay, not everybody can just jump to the mode of, transcendental goodness from passion and ignorance. So therefore Krishna is giving, hey, these are the symptoms of goodness. One can cultivate these. One can slowly, by proper association of those who have that, just like if you live in a room with someone who's in the very, in the mode of goodness, in the brahmacharya ashram, and you start to be tamasic, they're going to chastise you, like, hey, get your stuff together. And you start to become forced. to become a little bit more in the mode of goodness. And by that constant association of that devotee, you by the end of 2 years living with him, you've acquired that quality. Because you're taking instructions. So we can't expect to jump straight to the transit of goodness. Then we'll simply if we expect that, we'll fall down. Because like we were talking about, Prabhu asked this question to Mukundadatta Prabhu. People have false expectations in devotional service. You think you're going to walk through the door, I'm going to chant a few rounds and I'm going to become a pure devotee. And all my desires are going to go away, material desires are going to go away, and I'm going to become the Acarya. I'm going to teach everyone. That's our mode of thinking when we come in. Everybody has it. We call it the pure PDS. PDS? Pure Devotee Seminar? PDS. Everybody has that. I don't know if I had that or like anything. It's hard to have that here nowadays because generally you walk in and you got all these men who've been practicing for 5-6 years, and anytime you get that, immediately it's like chopped. It's like, okay. Yeah, so it's hard to have that here, but when you're on your own, like myself for some time, you start to think, oh wow, look, I'm overcoming the 3 modes of material nature. You become illusioned, thinking like that. So the science of devotional service requires us to take shelter of a spiritual master, a personal spiritual master in the form of shiksha and diksha. It requires constant association with those devotees who are guiding us because they can see us day to day, in line with the Diksha Guru's instructions. So devotees cannot have this unrealistic expectation that I'm going to come to devotional service and everything is going to be completely fine. Actually, you can expect everything to be not completely fine. Not because Krishna consciousness is the problem, it's because we're the problem. As Prabhupada says here, Krishna consciousness is transcended to all these modes, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. We're not truly established in Krishna consciousness. So we struggle, there's a struggle. But we're lucky enough to have that guidance and support in order to go through that struggle and start to come to that platform of mode of goodness and transcendental goodness. So if we have unrealistic expectation now from one day from passion to I'm going to immediately go to transcendental goodness, then generally it does not happen. It may be very rare, at least within my own 10 years of whatever practicing, I haven't seen it, and I'm sure Prabhu in his 50 years hasn't seen it either. Anybody who thinks that now I'm transcendental good immediately falls down. So it takes time because we've been conditioned for millions of years, so you can't expect it. Because the thing is, Krishna consciousness is immediately liberating actually, but we dive right back in. Actually, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can get immediate liberation, but we are attached to our stool of this material world. We're just attached to it. So we keep trying to enjoy in different ways. Even within Krishna consciousness, we think, I want to enjoy like this, enjoy like that. So that has to go. Yeah. But that may take a whole lifetime. You may have to go through that. You may want to enjoy in a certain way. Yeah. And you may have to do that in order to go through that. Because you just can't overcome it sometimes. Because your nature is just pulling you. So then you have to do it under the rules and regulation of Shastra. So one has to have a proper understanding. If one goes too fast, then burn. One must be steady under guidance. Is that okay? Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. So I guess I'm looking for a little more clarification on what should be done in terms of getting free from our conditioning and our modes of material nature that we're under. Is it more that we should just try to every single day fight what our conditioning is and be like, hey, I'm thinking like this, I'm feeling like this is my background and my history, and I should fight every day to try and develop these qualities of being in the mode of goodness? Or is it that one should realize hey, this is the body I'm in, this is my conditioning, this is my situation, and one should try and purify, like if one is more in the mode of passion, should they try and purify that, or is it that one should be fighting every day for the mode of goodness, or is it like a combination of both?
It's purification, but the thing is, we don't take shelter of the mode of goodness. We take shelter of Krishna. That's the main point. That by doing that, we automatically acquire these things. We should not think that by just cultivate. We should not just try to cultivate mode of goodness. We do it in order to serve Krishna better, right? Because mode of passion is really hard to serve, actually, because you just start to lose things and you don't do your service properly, and half the dishes are cleaned, the burnt pot isn't washed properly. So in the mode of passion, it gradually leads to destruction. So one has to, with the understanding that to serve Krishna better, I have to cultivate this mode of goodness. So you may not be able to do it immediately, but you can do it little by little. Start to change your nature little by little. I've seen that practical in my life. You try to change everything at once, it's just another side of passion. You're still under it. You think, okay, now I'm in the mode of goodness. It's the same passion, just taking a different shape. I'm a Brahmana now all of a sudden. But it's like you change little by little. Start to get yourself regulated in one thing first. Do one thing every day properly. Every day you do that one thing at the same time. And then from that one thing, once you get yourself established, then go to the next day. Okay, I'm going to chant all my rounds like this. I'm not going to get distracted. I'm going to go to a place where there's no devotees are there. I'm just going to finish my rounds every day. Let me get established in that. Let me move. And then after you get established in that, that's the main thing. You're chanting. And then you'll see the rest of your life will get transformed. And then you move to the next thing. Okay, make sure that I do this every day. Make sure you learn verses every day. You read Prabhupada's books every day. Let me make those things my priority. Because those are the things that, remove all of these passionate ignorance out of our heart. And then we can do all of the side things that we may do. We don't take shelter of you want to be in the mode of goodness and you want to do better. There's so many gurus online you can go to. You can go to motivational speech and go and take shelter of that, but they won't help you. You have to take shelter of Shastra. You have to take shelter of Krishna. So the fight, it's not, when we do that, it becomes less of a fight. Because it's like, if you're fighting every day, you'll get burnt. So if you're having to fight every day, that's not what Krishna consciousness is blissful. So it just means being conscious of it and just changing it little by little. Don't think that you'll change your nature overnight. Don't think just by chanting Hare Krishna that you can, if you Sarvadharma Praityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, but generally we can't do that. So then Krishna has given us that process. So then just improve little every day, make that, as Guru Maharaj often mentions, that graph should be going up. So we're changing our nature slowly, and specifically how? By associating those who have the quality. We see devotees, like when we're inspired, that's for mine, at least I can say in my devotional life, the only reason I'm here is I've been able to see other devotees do it and see what qualities they have and try to cultivate that. And because of that, it's like I can say I'm still here 5 years later, still in the Brahmacharya ashram. Because of that, just I saw some devotees and go, wow, I want to be like that. I want that. I want those qualities. I want to be like that. So then naturally out of that desire, just like Prabhupada was quoting, when that desire, one attains a particular type of nature. By that desire, one attains that particular type of nature. So if we develop that strong desire to be like the pure devotees of the Lord, because that's practical for us, and you can't try to imagine what the spiritual world is like. We can read, but to day-to-day life, the pure devotees around us, those who are very advanced in devotional services around us, who've been practicing a long time, then we can see their qualities and just try to cultivate that. And that will simply get us there. And that's why Prabhupada told his disciples, you simply follow me. Follow Vrindavan. Vrindavan Vasi, you should just follow me. That's all. You cultivate the qualities that Srila Prabhupada has. Just by worshipping him, we acquire those qualities. So like that, it's like we associate deeply with those. It's those who have associated with Mahotsava Prabhu. That enthusiasm rubs off, right? As my life has been basically based on that. That's why I joined New York City, because I saw the enthusiasm that was there in Mahotsava Prabhu and the devotees that were there. I was like, oh, this is what I want. So out of that desire, and then now we're here. So that desire to actually come up has to be there. We can't say, oh, this is my nature, this is how I am, it's just, that won't help. We have to develop that and cultivate that desire by hearing. And Shastra makes that point again and again, you must hear Tatshurna, now hear carefully. Tatshurna, hear. Listen to what I'm saying. So, like that.
Is it possible for everybody to come up to that same platform? Because you were saying, Prabhupada said, yeah, just follow me, just practice what I'm teaching. Is it possible for everybody to get to that same level? Or?
100%. One just has to, Prabhupada writes like that in one place. One second, I forgot to mention that. Okay, I don't know where, 17.2, yeah, 17.2. I don't want to go too long. 17.2, Prabhupada writes like that, very important, I forgot to actually go through this. But this nature can be changed if one associates with the bona fide spiritual master and abides by his rules in scripture. Gradually one can change his position from ignorance to goodness and from passion to goodness, or from passion to goodness. The conclusion is that blind faith in a particular mode of nature cannot help a person become elevated to the perfection stage. One has to consider things carefully with intelligence in the association of a bona fide spiritual master. Thus one can change his position to a higher mode of mature nature, a higher mode of nature. So one can't just have blind faith. Oh, I'm just like this. Let me just go on in devotional service. Everything will be fine. No, one has to use his brain. One has to actually study and use his intelligence and come up and endeavor to come up. One can't just say, oh, this is how I am. I'm just going to continue chanting like this. I'm just going to continue doing my devotional service like this. You won't go anywhere. It's endeavor. Okay, one more from the men and then women and then, yeah, you have a question? You gotta turn it on.
Switch it up, JJ.
So when you were talking earlier and you said, it's not word for word, but you said something like somebody could be put in a position where they never, first you said the associations of devotees is like one of the most important things.
It is the most important
thing. So, and you were saying somebody could possibly be in a position where they never did that, like. So my question, what came into my head was like, it's kind of not, it could be not fair to certain people because what if they never got put in the path to meet a devotee? Like, what if I never met you in a park and I would have never found out what Krishna consciousness was? So it's like, my question is basically, what is the viewpoint or on the trajectory of a person's life who never really got the fair chance to get introduced to it?
Sure, then we're controlled by the modes. Then we're dragged by the modes and different associations that we do, and then in the next life we attain a different type of body, as is being mentioned here. You may get a body of an animal or a human being if you're lucky, demigod if you're pious. So, if one doesn't come across devotional service within this lifetime, he will get some opportunity again at some point. We don't know when. We don't know. This is the first time we've got a chance we don't know how long, millions and billions and trillions of years. We should understand the gravity of it, the rarity of it, how rare this is. Because it says like, how did it come about? By chance, actually. You're lucky. You don't deserve it. by chance. Same with us, it's not just you. We don't deserve it. But by the mercy of Krishna, somehow or other, that's why it's causeless mercy. There's no cause. But we have now have the opportunity to actually make this life perfect. Actually go beyond what people can't even think about. So for those who don't come across this devotional service, they do not know their next destination, as Prabhupada says here. They don't know. We don't know. That's why people are fearful. But the devotees, they know. So like that. Everybody gets a chance. So I'll give the Mataji's a chance because I'm going late here. I wanted to end early, but okay. Any other women? Do you have any Mataji's? Do you have any questions at all? Yeah. No? Yes. Yeah, you can take it.
I have a couple. The more basic one is you were mentioning about
about like attentiveness when it comes to our spiritual life. It's obvious to see like we were chanting japa, attentiveness there, but what does it mean to be attentive in devotional service?
You don't space out. Like, you're meant to do something at a particular time. You're meant to, let's say, okay, you're meant to take down the altar, but you don't take the flower. You just take like a few flowers down and leave the rest of the flowers up. What happened? You're meant to, I don't know, it's just like don't space out. It means like you have a service that you've been given, you're meant to drive, and a part of driving is cleaning the vehicles, and you just leave the vehicle trashed. It's just like, there's an attentiveness. You're not being conscious of Krishna's property. You're not being conscious of that service to Krishna. You're just functioning on the platform of the mind. So it's just, your mind's, you're doing the service mechanically, but your mind is just like in a completely different place. So it means actually to bring the mind, our intelligence, and the body all together, and actually have that present there, and be completely focused in that activity. It's very difficult to do. No, it's very difficult to do if we're not Krishna conscious. But gradually, as we go on, then that will come. But yeah, that's what attentive means, just to be focused, not to space out, to focus in what we're doing. Attention. Love is in the detail. Be detailed about what we do in our devotional service. In the service that we do it properly. Don't do a half job. That's it. So, okay. You have another one? Okay, quickly. And then Mataji, and then that's it. Okay. Oh, you don't have a question? Okay.
We were speaking about, with us having our natures, it shouldn't be that every day is like a fight against that nature. And it's like obvious to see like in the beginning when one takes to Krishna consciousness and they do, like a small thing like chanting japa, how they can see that result. But then as you practice Krishna consciousness, and it seems that, like you said, you seem to overcome that nature, but then the nature comes back and it's like super strong. And you don't necessarily have, some people may not necessarily have so much of that association there to be able to take inspiration from, to be able to like do that. Then how do you balance that out?
The holy name, you chant attentively as possible. When you're, one thing I've noticed in my spiritual life, and every devotee every devotee I've talked to will tell you, is as soon as you're inattentive in your rounds, everything else is a problem. Your main problem is you're inattentive in your rounds. So if you're having problems and we're struggling in different ways, fix that first. That's the center of everything we're doing. There's the Yuga Dharma. Nothing else will help you, actually. That you have to do first. That's the first thing we do in the morning. We chant, we do the Mangala Arati, then chant straight away. It's attentive. We have to be attentive in our rounds. It's hard because our minds drag us, but you have to bring it back. Krishna consciousness, you have to bring it back. Bring that nature back. And sometimes it is a little bit of a struggle to fight that nature, but it is there to some extent because you're trying to change it. You're trying to change something that you've acquired from millions and millions and millions of births. What do you expect? It's going to be an easy job. Devotional service, people think we don't do much, but this is the hardest thing anybody can do in their lives. To fight against, to go against your nature, to go against your mind, against sense enjoyment, and really actually try to go internally deep in Krishna consciousness is a very tough thing. Nobody can do it. That's why there's only a few young men, a few young women, and a few older devotees here. Because not many people can do it. Because it's tough. It is tough. People think we live very easy lives. You try to see, detachment from material things is the easy part. Actually, the hard part is dealing with your mind, dealing with your false ego, dealing with you. This is a whole lifetime of work. Don't think it's going to happen, you're going to be good tomorrow or next year. In a few years, everything is going to be wonderful. You think like that, you're in Maya. Krishna consciousness is wonderful. You can always be happy, and we are always happy. But expect the struggle. But that struggle is great. Our struggle is amazing because we struggle for Krishna. It's ecstatic, actually. It's just, even if you're struggling, you can just dance in kirtan. It's awesome. You don't have to be miserable. We're not miserable. That struggle is not misery, though. That's one thing we can understand. In the material world, you struggle as a materialist, life sucks. God. You go to work, you come back, you're like, oh my God, you can't do anything. It's suffering. But in the Krishna consciousness, even amongst the struggle, you're having a good time, actually. Prasadam is awesome. Kirtans, like, I don't know who else felt it, but like that kirtan in the Atlanta temple we did a few days back. We were like flying, we were floating. We're holding a whole different universe. We entered the spiritual world that day with Bhagavati Prabhu there, Vinukandadatta Prabhu there, Guru Maharaj there. So amongst the struggle, that struggle, internal struggle is there, but that bliss just takes over. So you have to allow that. You can't stop that. That's the important point. We can't stop that. Sometimes we're sitting there and we're struggling and we're thinking, okay, I'm struggling, look at me. But just forget it. Just dance. That's all. So it's blissful. The struggle is also blissful, actually. And you look back and it's like, wow, okay. And you have faith after that struggle. You go through that struggle, you overcome that struggle, and you have so much faith in Krishna that Krishna is going to come through every time. In practical experience of Christian life, practical experience in my life, you just do the right thing. Just don't deviate from the rules and regulations of devotional service. You're always protected. It's awesome. It's so good. None of fear. No fear. It's so awesome. It's like materialists can't imagine it. They can't even think about it. They can't even conceive of it. Impossible. Impossible. They don't understand what life is at all. They don't know. They think they're enjoying it. It's craziness. Devotional service is on a whole different level. You can't even begin. You can't even explain it. How can I explain that? That you're struggling, but at the same time you can be blissed out. So devotional service, it's like the struggle is there, but we should be actually, and that struggle is exciting sometimes. Because you know you're going to overcome something that you've been waiting. Sometimes it's like we can pray for that too, please, as Kunti does. More struggle. More struggle. Why? Because there's so many things that you don't know about that are in your heart. You don't even know it's there. That's how amazing it is. You don't even know how much is there. You think you're struggling now, you wait. You wait a few more years. See what comes up. See how much material desires you have. See how much dirt is there in your heart. But this is getting us ready for that. We develop faith in Krishna by that struggle. And when that big one comes, you're ready for it. It's rough, but you're ready for it. You're like, okay, just stick it out. Tatenu kamvam susikshamano bunjaya evatma kritam vipakam what is it? Tadvag vapu bhir kritvag vapu bhir vidam namaste jiveta yo mukti padaya bhak padaya sadaya bhak. So we just have to stick it out. But it's awesome. It's like you don't have to suffer. It's like it'll be a struggle, but you don't have to suffer. There's no suffering. There's no suffering in devotion. It's just dance, chant, take prasadam. That's all. And then go through the struggle, that's all. Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm so sorry I went so long. I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I'm sorry. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Spaced out.